Rashin Soodmand grew up in Iran, where her father was a pastor. Iran is a Muslim country where Christians are persecuted, but her family's life seemed pretty normal until one day when Rashin was 13 years old. She was outside their house playing.
A car came and parked in front of our house, and we didn't know who they are, but after a few 10 minutes, I remember they invited my father to sit in their car, and even I didn't hear the conversation, but I felt it's something wrong. It is, and then sense of fear.
Jesus never promised his followers an easy path. In fact, he told his disciples that the world would hate them. He sent them out as sheep among wolves. Jesus' words came true in the life of the apostles, and they're still coming true today in the lives of his followers around the world. Join host Todd Nettleton as we hear their inspiring stories and learn how we can help. Right now on the Voice of the Martyrs Radio Network.
Welcome again to the Voice of the Martyrs Radio. My name is Todd Nettleton, and I'm on the road this week in England, and we have a very special guest. Rashin Soodmand is the daughter of Pastor Hossein Soodmand, who was executed by the Iranian government in 1990 for the crime of apostasy. He was born into a Muslim family. He became a follower of Jesus, and the government told him, you can continue to follow Jesus and you will be killed, or you can become a Muslim again and go home. He made the choice. No, I am a follower of Jesus. We are here with his daughter, Rashin. Rashin, welcome to the Voice of the Martyrs Radio.
Thank you, Brother Thad, for inviting me, and it's my privilege and honor to be here and share my story with you.
You were 13 when your dad was killed. What do you remember about him? When you picture your dad, what are the memories that you have of him?
So I have a lot of memories of him because the church was in the basement of our house. Actually, my father established a church in the basement of our house, and obviously we had people inside the house. The building he used to use, it was the second floor and the basement, but we usually had more people in the yard and around us. So I clearly remember. So I could see the way he was ministering to other people, especially people who would come to our house and ask the questions. So and some about Christian faith. So my father patiently would answer all their questions as well, and it was not just asking their question; he was care about them. So he had caring heart and loving heart. And I remember he had a bicycle in our house, and still I can visualize that bicycle. And my father had pain in his leg, but he would cycle miles and hours to see one person. Some of the members of the church, they live far from our house. So I remember sometimes he would take us with him. I remember his bicycle, and also he was 2 hours cycling to see different people and just take care of them and to see how they are doing.
It seems like from what I've read and from what you've said, he just loved people. Not just the people in the church, but Muslims, the neighbors, everyone. He just had a love for people.
Exactly, he had love for everybody, even children. Even I remember a family who had a disabled child. He loved my father, and one day they were living far from us, and one day he just left house and came to our house to see my dad, and they were very worried. And immediately when he came to our house, my dad called them and let them know that he is here. So he loved children as well. So after he died, after his martyrdom, even neighbors, they testified that how kind he was and how caring heart he had.
Are there things you remember in your family, like, him reading you stories or him giving you hugs or tucking you in at night? Are there things like that you remember about him?
Exactly. I remember he would spend time individually with each one of us. For instance, he would take me to coffee shop and had or restaurant and had a quality time with me as well. Although he had quality time with the whole family, but it was important for him to had a quality time with each one of us as his children. So that is what it's important for me when I remember him as my father.
Do you think he knew or had a sense that he might not be able to be there when you were 20 or 25 or when you got married? Do you think he had any kind of a sense that maybe his life was going to be short?
I think he knew because he was very keen and for us to be very independent, and always he would tell us, or the way he was treated us, or he tried to raise us as a children to be independent. And sometimes he would send us, my sister and myself, three children together to a distance place with the taxi. He was not with us. He made sure that the taxi driver is safe, but he would send us by ourselves with just taxi driver, for instance. And I think now when I'm thinking about those moments, I just sometimes I think maybe he knew that was he was very keen for us to be more independent and grow in more, being more mature in our life. And
What do you remember about the faith lessons that he taught you, or how he taught you what it means to follow Jesus and how you live out that faith on a daily basis?
so we had our family praying meeting every night, so that was really important for him, and no one could cancel, even if we had a guest. Even if we had a guest, as I mentioned. So we had a church in our house. Sometimes we had other members or other people, they were welcome to join us, but he never canceled. So and then he will always teach us about God and encourage us to read our Bibles and told us stories about Jesus Christ. And what was incredible about him, he told us about Jesus with the stories because he knew we are a child. So the way he was sharing the stories, it was the way was the child can understand. So it was like milk easy food for us, but on the other hand, in that there was some way that we understood about God and his lordship and who was Jesus.
So he didn't just pastor his congregation, he pastored his family as well.
Exactly. He pastored. Exactly.
We're talking today on Voice of the Martyrs Radio with Rashin Soodmand. Her father was martyred in Iran in 1990. Did you understand, even as a girl, that what he was doing was dangerous in Iran? Did you know that, well, my dad's a pastor, this could be dangerous for our family?
Actually, not till I was 11, because everything was okay, and even the church had this freedom to. Actually, I didn't sense fear, or I don't know if there was something, but I think everything happened from when I turned to 11. And then because one day I was playing in our yard and with other friends, and I remember a car came and parked in front of our house, and we didn't know who they are. We were thinking maybe they are some of those people came to in order for him to minister to them. But after a few 10 minutes, I remember they invited my father to sit in their car, and even I didn't hear the conversation, but I felt it's something wrong. It is, and then sense of fear. That was the first time he was arrested. So he was arrested for a month, and then after that, after 1 month, they released him. they warned him and they gave him 2 weeks time to think about his life, and they told him whether you are going to stop your ministry and deny your faith, or we will kill you. And that's the serious warning. And because they couldn't stop my father.
So do you remember when he came home after being arrested that month? Do you remember what happened when he came through the door, or what you thought when you thought, oh, Dad's home?
Yes, we were waiting for him because we heard that they are going to release him. It was around 2 o'clock, and we were actually preparing house for him and cleaning. And yeah, when he came to the house, we were all crying, and yeah, we ran towards him. So I remember the first person actually ran to my father was my oldest brother. He was cleaning the yard. And then, so because my father was very clean man, and he wanted everything be tidy, and so we were preparing house for him. So I clearly remember the moment he came to the house, and we were really happy, and we were thinking, telling to myself, I hope this is the last time that we are not having him for this such a long time.
Unfortunately, it wasn't the last time.
No, unfortunately.
One of the things, as I've been reading and preparing to come and talk to you, the church leaders above your father in the Assembly of God Church said, maybe it's time for you guys to leave Iran. You've been arrested, you're having trouble, there's more persecution coming. Maybe you guys should go outside of Iran. Your dad said, no, I'm not going to leave. Tell us a little bit about that. And he made some really powerful statements about why he was staying.
As I mentioned, after the first time he was arrested, everything was changed, and we didn't have that freedom anymore. And then he went to other brothers in Tehran and shared all the information, all his experiences with the brother Haq and other brothers.
And I want to, just for our listeners, give them some context. Brother Haik was the leader of the Assembly of God Church in Iran, and he also later would be martyred for his faith. So your dad went to Tehran and sat down with Brother Haik and said, here's what's happened.
Yeah.
Then what happened?
Brother Haik, they realized that this is serious ultimatum, so that they offered him help, and they told him, we can help you to escape the country with your family. But that's my father's response. Do you want me to read it?
Please.
Yeah. And my father replied, actually, I am a follower of the great shepherd of the sheep, our Lord Jesus Christ, and I am ready to sacrifice my soul for my sheep. For me to escape from this persecution would cause the hearts of my flock to become cold and weak. I never want to be a bad example for them. So I am ready to go to prison again, and if necessary, to give my life. Yeah, he said that, and he left Tehran and he went to Mashhad. And while my father was in Tehran, they called to my mom and asked for him, and they told him, tell him to come to us this day. And my father immediately left Tehran and he came to Mashhad. He went house and left his suitcases, and I was the only one with my mom in the house. And he told me, Rashin, please make a tea. I'll come back in 2 hours. And then, so I was preparing tea for him in order for him to come, and I can help him and welcome him. But he didn't come back that day. After 2 weeks, we heard that chilling news that he was executed for his faith in Mashhad prison.
We're talking today on Voice of the Martyrs Radio with Rashin Soodmand. Her father was martyred in Iran. So, Rashin, you heard after the fact. There was never a time where they said, the court has ruled your father's going to be executed, or, come and visit, or a court hearing or anything like that, was that unusual, or is that just how things work in Iran?
That's how things work in Iran. Yeah, we had chance to see my father twice. Yeah, one when he was in prison for 1 month, and then when he was 2 weeks before his execution, we had chance to see him once. And then so I remember the last time we saw him in the prison.
What do you remember about that, or what did he say during that visit?
Well, yeah, so it was joyful and painful time because as a 13 years old, I was thinking why I need to have my father with me, and why should I ask permission for other people to let me to see my father. So it was very joyful as well and painful. And so we just share our experiences, and we told him the stories we have about our school, and my father was just encouraging us to continue our study, and encourage us to study and look after my mom as well. So it was just very normal and daily conversation. So he didn't want actually go to the details what is happening to him, because we were small children, and he didn't want to upset my mom as well.
So what was that visit like as far as the setup? Was he on one side of glass or one side of bars, or were you all in a room? Did you get a chance to give him a hug?
Yes, we were in the same room. So no, it was not the glass, separated us.
Okay.
No, it was, we went to a room,
So do you think at that time that he knew, I'm going to be executed or I'm going to be killed? Or do you think he thought, this is like last time, they're going to hold me for a while and then I'll go home?
No, he knew that. While we were leaving the prison, the room that we met him, by my youngest sister, she said, I think she asked me to look back, and my father was in tears, and he didn't want us to see, and he was trying to remove it with his hand, and I think my sister, she saw it clearly, and I think because he knew that's the last visit. And also after his martyrdom, we heard from some police guard or religion police that because another time police, one man from prison came to our house and asked us to go to that place because my father wanted to visit us, and we went to that place, and we were waiting for 2 hours in order to see him, but didn't happen. And after that they told us he can't see you today, and we will let you know for another time. And we were wondering, so what was the reason, purpose for that visit? And after his martyrdom, we heard that on that day he was in another room, and they were showing him his family. It was kind of warn him that, so you have an option. This is your family and your small children and your blind wife, and this is your fate. Now you have to choose.
So it was one final test for your father.
Exactly.
Here's your family. They need you. Or you can go on with this crazy Christian stuff, or you go home and take care of your family.
Yeah.
And so your father made a choice.
Exactly, yeah. He made a choice.
So when you think about that now, what do you think about your father's choice? He chose Christ. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud to be his daughter. Actually, he chose Christ. Although I don't want to deny or ignore the painful side we went through, and all the difficulties and vulnerabilities so we face during that time, especially. So we were small children with my blind mom, because my father was not the only father, he was a great help for my mom as well. Even on that time, although it was difficult for us, but we were very proud of him, and now I am proud of him that he chose Christ, because Christ is life, and he knew that God is going to look after his family.
We're talking today on Voice of the Martyrs Radio with Rashin Soodmand. She is the daughter of Pastor Hossein Soodmand, who was martyred in Iran. How did you find out, Rashin, that your father had been executed?
I was in school and I came home, and no one was at home. And then after 1 hour, that was not normal, it was weird. So usually my mom had to be at home when we were coming from school, but it was strange that no one is at home. So after 1 hour they came, because they went to the graveyard. On that day they informed my family, and Brother Haik and other pastors, he was executed. So they immediately went to the graveyard. So when they came, when they entered to the house, even because they were wearing black and clothes, and then I just immediately I realized that something happened to my dad, and then everybody came to our house and told us the.
So did Pastor Hike talk to you about that? About, your dad's a hero, your dad has done this amazing thing. What did he say about it?
Yeah, brother, the first person he informed us, told us, was one of our neighbor who was Christian, and we were very close together. So she told us, and then everybody came, and Brother Hike. It was strange atmosphere, because it was between sadness and happiness. So sadness, because no one expect that, even churches expect that happen. And I remember all the people were crying, and Brother Hike was sad because he lost his friend, his colleague, and also as a family we lost our father. But I clearly remember he would say, "I'm jealous of him." I'm jealous of him. I had to be the first one to live, to give my life to Jesus. And it was, I could see the regret in his face. And then he was preaching very boldly and powerful. I think that his preaching still exists in the first day that we heard about my father martyrdom.
That's Rashin Soodmand telling us what it was like when she was just 13 years old and found out that her father had been executed for his faith in Christ. I know we all care so much about our kids' safety and their future, but Rashin's life reminds us that God is in control. In His Word, He promises that He will take care of the fatherless and the widow. We can trust Him with our families, and we can follow His calling even into places that the world would tell us are not safe. If you missed any of Rashin's story, I hope you'll listen again at vomradio.net. Or maybe you know somebody who would be blessed by her story. Why not send them a link? vomradio.net. You'll find all kinds of encouraging stories in our archives there. These interviews will challenge you to live wholeheartedly for the Lord and to say no to fear. Again, you can hear every past episode of Voice of the Martyrs Radio at vomradio.net. That's not the end of Rashin's story. We're going to pick up that conversation next week. Rashin was still to experience more persecution in Iran. Yet, even today, she continues to serve Jesus and to use her story of loss to point other people to Him. So I hope you'll be back next week to hear the rest of that right here on the Voice of the Martyrs Radio Network.